one and not gonna kill you. Don't believe it, but I'm betting that you will. Stop, no, I'll let you live a little bit with the pain that I bring. You know it's only the beginning. Stop up, cause you're the next one and not gonna kill you. Don't believe it, but I'm betting that you will. Stop, no, I'll let you live a little bit with the pain that I bring. You know it's only the beginning. I'm breaking the limit inside you. Stop making someone to hide you. I'm breaking the limit inside you. Stop making someone to hide you. I'm breaking the limit inside you. Stop making someone to hide you. I'm breaking the limit inside you. Stop running away, bring it on. You're the next one and not gonna kill you. Don't believe it, but I'm betting that you will. Stop, no, I'll let you live a little bit with the pain that I bring. You know it's
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Schmozcast. I'm your host, Anthony Deneau. In the studio, I have Chandler Daniels as well as Andre Martinez. Fellas, how we doing?
Doing great this morning.
I'm doing excellent.
All right, that's what I like to hear. So, a lot to talk about today. We've got the future of Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling, Seth Rollins, amazing Monday night. You've got Elimination Chamber coming up tomorrow night, and I want to talk about the WWE Network. Our thoughts. Now it is 4 years old now, which seems crazy. It seems like just yesterday I was waiting for it to come out all January and into February, and that first day, my roommate, a contributor to the show, Ben Wong at the time, was at home getting everything ready, and of course it was crashed or overloaded, and you couldn't really get it for another extra day or two, and it seemed like the longest 48 hours of my life, and all the things that we look forward to. So I want to get into the WWE Network a ton, but first let's talk about some other things. Seth Rollins, Monday Night Rollins. Oh my gosh, this was one of the best performances I've ever seen in WWE. One of the best builds for him to beat Reigns and Cena in the same match, clean. And the amount of time that it was the longest time that anyone's ever been in a match. They think that going back to the 60s with like Bruno Sammartino. What did you guys think about this? Were you guys as amazed as I was?
How could you not be? He stayed in that match for an hour and 5 minutes. That's, like you said, going back to the 60s, the Bruno Sammartino era. You haven't seen that since then. So that's definitely the longest that anyone's been in a match on Monday Night Raw in its 25-year history. It's incredible. His performance was, I've never seen it, like you said, I've never seen anything like that.
It's almost like you would think he's going to win the Elimination Chamber, which is not going to be the case, obviously, but he was highlighted. He was highlighted big time. I don't know what the plan is for him, but the match was 2 hours long itself, and it was a Vince decision, allegedly, which is the craziest thing about it, because he's not the type of person you'd associate with, let's do a 2-hour gauntlet match. But it was awesome, and hopefully that means that he's open to having more longer matches on TV on Raw. But the performance that Rollins gave, he's called himself Monday Night Rollins the past few weeks. He earned that nickname on Monday night with the way that he performed, the way that he sold, the way that he was just exhausted when Elias came to the ring, and exhausted during that match and finally took the loss. The way it was played out, and I've said this statement probably a million times on the show before, but the story he told was incredible, and you know that's what one of my favorite things about wrestling is, getting immersed in the story being told, whether in the ring or in the promos or anywhere else that they shoot things. And Seth Rollins got me. When he came back, he's kind of been, I don't want to say he's floundering, because he's not, because he's Seth Rollins, he's great, but they haven't really had much for him, and that match got me really fired up for Seth Rollins again, and hopeful for what they're going to do for him in the next few months to a year. Seth Rollins is officially back, like the Seth Rollins.
I've been very disappointed, not with him, but what they've done with him, that he's kind of been a floundering, he's a main event guy, but since he's come back, he's been a babyface. That's the case when you come back, that you're going to get that babyface pop. and I think he's so much better as a heel. I think he's a natural heel. But finally, after Monday, I'm really buying into where we're at now with Seth Rollins, and hopefully they put some of the part-timers aside and maybe, put the machine behind Seth Rollins. And originally with the Monday Night Rollins thing, I was kind of like, okay, we've seen this before. RVD, Mr. Monday Night. Chris Jericho, Raw is Jericho. More recently, Kevin Owens, The Kevin Owens Show. And so when it was Monday Night Rollins, I'm like, okay, it's clever, but we've seen this, we've been there, we've done that. This to me actually seemed like they are going to get behind that. That is something they are going to do. So maybe this does become his show. And I really like where things are going right now. I'm more invested in Seth Rollins because of that than I have been in a long time. And he's kind of been in a rough spot lately these last few months. He loses Dean Ambrose. He loses Jason Jordan. It's kind of like he's in a rough spot, but maybe this is him breaking out of it.
I would absolutely hope so. I have for the longest time have always thought that the top of SmackDown should be AJ Styles, which he is because he's the WWE champion, and the top of Raw should be Finn Balor. That's been pretty much my how I felt since the brand split. And now I honestly think that Seth Rollins should be at that position. Seth Rollins should be the Universal Champion, and he should be looked at as Monday Night Rollins, and he should be the man just from that performance alone.
I still think Braun Strowman should be the Universal Champion, but I do think Seth Rollins needs to be in the main event scene, and I think he should be. I consider him more of a main eventer than. I don't want to say this because he's not booked that way, but he's more of a main eventer in my mind than Roman Reigns. But I'm incredibly biased because I'm kind of sick of him being in the main event. He's a really good talent, great wrestler. Great in the ring. I'm not one of those guys that just hates Roman Reigns and says he sucks in the ring and all that, because I know that's not the case. I just don't like how they've constantly booked him in the same position. But I think Seth Rollins is definitely should be the man, or should be traded to SmackDown and be involved in the main event scene there. But he's definitely earned his way into the main event scene and not in a tag team. I think he should be done with the whole tag team wrestling thing. For now, at least.
And that's one of the main takeaways that I felt from his performance on Monday night, was that he needs to be a singles competitor right now. The tag team thing is it's just done.
So I think that he's going to be one of the first guys eliminated tomorrow night in the Elimination Chamber. I think this was sort of not throwing him in a bone and like, okay, hey, you've done this, an achievement award. I think it was, yes, we're building you on Raw as our guy. But maybe him doing that and showing off and beating Cena and Reigns clean to start the match and going over an hour, which is spectacular. I think that also was for them to maybe also soften the blow of him getting an early elimination tomorrow. And I don't think that hurts him that much either to do that. They also could go the other way and have him be in the match for the longest time, but still not win it. I still think that Roman Reigns is going to be your winner, and I'm actually okay with that. At this point, they've kind of beat it into our heads that it's
you've made your peace.
I've made my peace that it's going to be Lesnar and Reigns, and I've kind of just I'm dealing with it, and I'm okay with that. More so because I want to get the title off of Lesnar to someone who's going to be there every week, and Reigns is that guy to be there every week. And then you maybe have the Finn Balor going after the title from Reigns, or you have Rollins going after the title from Reigns. Strowman, Samoa Joe when he comes back. But then, so I want to get your thoughts. I know you want to chime in, and then I want to talk about what you guys think now, because Rollins has been without his last two potential WrestleMania opponents. What are some of the options now?
Well, I was going to say what I think is going to happen is I think Roman's going to win the title and then feud with Seth Rollins right away after WrestleMania. But what was your question? I'm sorry. So Seth Rollins, we've heard a few different things, but now with Ambrose out, Jason Jordan out, there's a couple other different possibilities right here. You do him and Finn Balor. You throw Samoa Joe as a possible triple threat if Samoa Joe is healthy. Angle is still out there as a potential opponent as well. So I think that there's going to be some sort of culmination. I'm not sure if it's a one-on-one match or a group of one-on-one matches or how they're going to do it, a triple threat, a fatal four-way, whatever it might be. But I think that, what a great match that, especially if they do give it the time, Balor and Seth Rollins would be an awesome WrestleMania match that doesn't necessarily need that much build or storyline. There hasn't been any yet. They were the first two to face off each other for the Universal title. And, both these guys can put on a great match with their eyes closed. Are you asking what we think or what we want to see happen?
Well, give me both.
'Cause what I think is going to happen, I think it's going to be. It looks like it's going to be Seth and Finn, or Seth and Angle, and then Braun Strowman challenging Miz for. Or this is what I've read from the dirt sheets was that Braun's going to be challenging Miz, but the way it's been booked, it kind of looks like Finn might be challenging the Miz at WrestleMania, the way that they've had the interactions, but I could be completely wrong. What I think is going to happen is is Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. But I think what I'd like to see happen I honestly want to see Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns in a match, not for the title. I want to see them cost each other at Elimination Chamber. Obviously, Braun winning it and facing Lesnar, and then the winner of the Seth Rollins Roman Reigns feud can face Strowman. But I think it makes sense now that Dean Ambrose is out that you have the feud there, or the match between the two Shield members.
Okay, let's say that we're locked into Reigns and Lesnar. That's not, neither of those two are an option. And let's also say that we're locked into the Miz and Braun Strowman, which has been the talk going back a couple months. But if those are locked in, then you want to see Rollins versus Samoa Joe and Finn Balor, just a one-on-one between one of the two. Is Angle in there? Do you want to see that at all?
I think Joe's out until after WrestleMania. I really think that's the case, which is sad because it would be second year in a row that he's missed WrestleMania.
And last year there was no reason for him.
No,
to
last
not to be on
year
the
they just
WrestleMania
kept
card,
him off
and
the
Finn
card.
Balor too. There's
And
no
you
reason
can't-
that either of those two shouldn't have at least had a run-in or something, or even a match of, hey, these two are returning superstars, some of the best guys from Japan, TNA, NXT. Both former champions and have great rivalry, one of the best that we've seen before, too. There's no reason to not have those guys to save them for the night after WrestleMania, which is something I also want to poke at the WWE Network on, but we're going to get to that a little bit later.
Especially those kind of guys. If it's like a, what's his name? Velveteen Dream. I can't believe I forgot his name of all people. If it's a guy like Velveteen Dream, 22, 23, then that's okay. You can skip a WrestleMania. But Samoa Joe, who's getting up there in years, he's on your roster. He should have been on WrestleMania last year because things like this can happen. So I don't think he's going to be there. But what I think would be the best bet would be for them to go Finn and Seth Rollins. Getting back to the original question, I think that would be the best match possibility. I don't know what they're going to do with Angle. I mean, it makes sense to have Seth Rollins and Angle because of the whole Jason Jordan thing, but I kind of want Seth to be completely done with that whole Jason Jordan tag team thing. If you want to bring it back when Dean Ambrose comes back for a short time to set up a feud between those two, sure, but I think Seth Rollins should be completely done with the tag team thing. So I think Finn would be the best bet. And they could tear the house down and challenge AJ and Shinsuke for match of the night potential.
Chandler, suppose we're locked into, for the IC title, The Miz and Braun Strowman. For the Universal, you're going to get, as we know, most likely Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar. So where do you want to see Seth Rollins at for Mania?
I would have to agree with either Angle or Balor being opponents for him. And I'm definitely going to lean more towards Balor. In that case, I would like to see the Demon him and the Demon have a match. But then that leaves the question of what do you do with Angle? Where is he? Because I would assume he's gonna be having a match at WrestleMania, and I don't at this point in time I don't know who his opponent would be. I was kind of thinking maybe there would be a way that it would be Jason Jordan versus Kurt Angle, his quote unquote father, but with him being injured, who's to say? I don't know.
It's his working dad.
What about Triple H? Or do you think they're going to go the whole Triple H and Stephanie versus Ronda Rousey and a partner, or Triple H versus Kurt Angle? Which I don't know if I want to see Triple H Kurt Angle because they're both a little bit up there in years, although they're both great and both can still go. I just want to see Kurt Angle against someone younger.
It's not helping it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say I would assume that the Ronda Rousey route is what they're going to go.
Yeah, okay, so in terms of Angle and Triple H, I would rather see a younger talent face these guys and put on a better match and get one of the younger guys over. I think that you don't just... Sure, it's a spectacle to have two Attitude Era guys and beyond and some of the greatest workers ever, but I would much rather see someone benefit from that, and I don't. That's why I want to see less part-timers and really focus on getting other guys over for the next 5 to 10 years. And then I do think it's going to be... it's going to be Ronda Rousey and a partner, maybe The Rock, against Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. I think what we saw last year with The Miz versus John Cena in the mixed tag with their wives and fiancés, I think that's going to be somewhat of a mainstay. That's going to be something maybe at WrestleMania. There's going to be one match. I think that's something they're going to continue. That will be a trend for the next few WrestleManias in some way, shape, or form.
Won't be The Rock though, unfortunately.
Because of the insurance issues, or did you looked at his contract? You can't find the loophole.
No, I didn't look at his contract, but I guess
That's
the last
inside baseball
time,
right there.
and the last time that he wrestled, I think it was against CM Punk at Royal Rumble, or was it against Cena at WrestleMania where he tore?
Eric Rowan.
No, that wasn't a match. That one didn't count.
Whoa! If that's not a match,
it's in the books. It's
yeah.
it's in the books.
Okay, I get. If you want to be technical, that was a match, but it was not. He didn't do anything that put himself in any danger. I think the last time he had an actual long match, he tore a muscle off the bone. I can't remember where, and he was in the middle of filming something, and they had to completely change the schedule for the shooting because of that. So I think he's going to have a harder time to come back. But I do think it's going to be the Rousey thing, and I'm in agreement with you on the Triple H Angle thing. But what I want to know from you two is, who do you want Angle to face then at WrestleMania? Or who should it be?
This is okay. If I'm going a little bit off the board, I suppose that Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable are not in a tag match of some sort. I would love to see Chad Gable versus Kurt Angle. To me, that would be the match that, and I know that's unlikely because of the roster situation, but if I could pick an opponent who is on the roster right now, it would have to be Chad Gable versus Kurt Angle, man. Some of the stuff you would see in that, from chain wrestling to Matt Classic, that would be my go-to. That's something that I'm like salivating at right now.
Yeah, that's a great call. I honestly, I can't think of anyone or anyone else that right now I would want to see Kurt Angle in the ring with.
I can.
Let's hear it.
Well, I'm let you. Do you want to finish your thought?
I'll think about it while you're saying yours.
Since you brought up something that cannot happen because of both the roster situation, and it would make absolutely no sense from a storytelling point. So if we can pick anybody, then I'm gonna take the cheap pop route and say have him face the authority figure from the other show, Daniel Bryan. I think that's who I'd want to most see him wrestle. But that's more of a loophole answer because that means that Daniel Bryan is gonna wrestle, which isn't gonna happen.
He's gonna face Shane McMahon.
I hope you're right, but he's not.
All right, we'll see about that. What are some of the other matches? We still want to get to some other things, but what are some other matches while we're sort of on the subject of the build to WrestleMania? And this is the last Raw pay-per-view. We're about 45 days out from WrestleMania, and we've got some other stuff going on at the last single-brand pay-per-view for Raw before WrestleMania, and maybe ever.
Yeah. So on the kickoff, we're gonna have the Club, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson versus the Miz Taraj, which is Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. Then we're going to have on the main show the Raw Tag Team Champions, Sheamus and Cesaro versus Titus Worldwide, which blows my mind. A, they're getting a title shot. B, it's on the main card. Next, we're going to have Woken Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt going one-on-one. We're going to have an event where Ronda Rousey officially signs her WWE Raw contract. I don't know why I said it that way. Next, we're going to have Asuka going against Nia Jax one-on-one with her undefeated streak being on the line. Then the two main events, we're going to have the first ever women's Elimination Chamber match and the men's first ever 7-man Elimination Chamber match.
I just thought of something completely random as you're reading the card, and I'm looking at it in front of me here.
Where's your laptop?
I have it right here in my hand.
Yeah.
Shane McMahon has been known, who also used to be a professional wrestler when he was back in the day, and he might still be now. But anyways, that's beyond the point. Shane McMahon has a little bit of history of stealing people's thunder. Stephanie McMahon is it GM or commissioner? Commissioner of Raw. And she's about to sign Ronda Rousey. Could Shane McMahon pull a 2001 WCW and steal Ronda Rousey from Raw?
I'm not opposed. I think that would be a
Have him
pretty
show up at
cool
the Titantron.
swerve. That would be pretty cool. And Raw's pretty. I know that's the flagship show, and that's what they want to get behind. But man, that would really pump things up for SmackDown, and maybe would bring in a lot of those viewers that are the Raw and pay-per-view only type of WWE fans, and then also get the Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. Man,
for the title at Mania. I don't normally like giving people title shots if they just come in, but Ronda Rousey is different.
Absolutely.
I think she could get that title shot, and I wouldn't have a problem with it.
And the idea is that she's not a part-timer, so that's another reason why I'm okay with her. And build the story that is part true, that people are pissed that she's going to be leapfrogging them just by signing a contract, but she's getting more eyes on the product, more eyes on the women's division. I think this actually does a lot of good things. But yeah, man, Charlotte and Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, no opposition here. I would absolutely love to see that.
I still want to see Asuka Charlotte, but if they're not going to do that, that's my.
And I don't think that's out of the question either. I think that if Ronda Rousey does go to Raw, I think that it's the jury is still out, right? On Asuka's,
I think it's going to be Charlotte,
right?
though, based on the way Michael Cole keeps talking about the Asuka Nia Jax match.
Speaking of that match, how do you guys think this goes down? I think that a draw, a time limit thing, or some sort of shenanigans, a double count out. I think that Nia Jax, they're gonna do something with the storyline. I don't think it's not gonna be a clean victory, and I don't think that for either one of the two. So I think this is going to be a non-victory, but the undefeated streak is still going to continue from here.
I can see that happening. Nia Jax is actually already on Asuka's list of defeats. They had a match at one of the NXT takeovers, and Asuka beat her clean in the middle of the ring in that match, and it was a great match. So if this time around, if they were to have a double count out or disqualification kind of finish where it's not an official win but the streak is still intact, that would make a lot of sense in my eyes.
I really think that Asuka's going to find a way to win. And like I said a couple seconds ago, based on Michael Cole's talking about this match, the way he keeps saying, if Nia Jax wins, she'll be entered into a triple threat match for one of the two women's championships, meaning Asuka hasn't made her decision. So I think however they get out of having Asuka win and still make Nia Jax look strong, the way that they've booked Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss for the past several months, something tells me Asuka's going to challenge Charlotte because they're the two most dominant women of the past couple years. Alexa Bliss is up there, but I feel like Charlotte's at another level, and what Asuka did in NXT, being undefeated, puts her at that level too. So I think Charlotte and Asuka makes the most sense, and then Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss against her former, current, on-again, off-again best friend type thing. With the way that they've been telling that story, it makes the most sense that it's going to be Nia and Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania, and then Charlotte Asuka, hopefully.
Yep, and then that will leave Ronda Rousey for that mixed tag that we talked about. You guys, what is the one match you're most excited about here? Is it the women's Elimination Chamber because this is the first one, and does that match go on last? So what's the match you're most looking forward to, and which match goes on the main event?
I'm excited for both chamber matches. I'm a huge fan of Elimination Chamber matches. It's probably my favorite out of all of the different, if you want to call them gimmicky matches that WWE has the Money in the Bank, Hell in a Cell, etc., etc. This is probably my favorite one, so I'm definitely excited for both of the main events. I don't know which one goes on last. I suppose the women's because it's the first one, but it's also the 7-man has huge implications as well. So
how would you feel if the women main event back-to-back pay-per-views? I think that's pretty neat, man. I think that's something special.
Yep, I didn't consider that. They should absolutely do that.
They will, because in WWE the past 2 to 4 years, whenever the women have done something historically, when they've done a first Iron Man match with Bayley and Sasha, that main evented. First Hell in a Cell, that main evented. First Women's Rumble, that main evented. I think the first Elimination Chamber is going to main event. Obviously, you guys knowing me, those two matches, I'm incredibly looking forward to both chamber matches. I love Elimination Chamber matches, but those aren't the matches I'm looking forward to. Can you take a guess of which one?
You're looking forward to the pre-show.
Oh yeah, no, of course not.
I was thinking Ronda Rousey with the pen and paper.
No. Come on, y'all.
Matt Hardy.
Yes.
Gee,
I'm hoping that this match is another step in the direction of getting some Hardy compound action at WrestleMania. Obviously, I don't want to see the Hardy. I want to see the Hardy compound anytime. But if it's going to debut, it's got to debut at Mania, not at Elimination Chamber. But I'm curious to see how they use this match to step in that direction. Is it going to be completely all in the ring? Are they going to do some backstage stuff? I'm really looking forward to see it because Matt Hardy, Woken Matt Hardy / Broken Matt Hardy is one of my favorite things in professional wrestling history, and I'm also a big Bray Wyatt fan, so that's what I'm looking forward to most.
Gosh, I didn't even think about the Demon versus Woken Matt Hardy too at WrestleMania. Would be another fun thing I'm down for that as well. Certainly, if that isn't the case with where we're going to continue Wyatt versus Hardy, then those two also would be options for some of those guys that we talked about. So that's, I guess, another wrench I didn't think about in the plans, but I imagine that we are going to continue the Hardy versus Wyatt thing. But who knows? We'll see how that goes. But so, yeah, I'm not sure which match I'm all that excited about. It's more about this is a stepping stone to get to setting things up for Mania. So I'm more excited about some of the moments and spectacle that will lead into these next 45 days.
I have a question talking about Matt and Bray Wyatt and things leading to Mania for them. How would you feel if you were at WrestleMania and a major portion of their match would be a compound segment, or whatever, however you want to call it, but a segment on screen, and then obviously they would get into the ring. But how would you feel about that, being there at Mania and having part of, or even a majority of their match being that?
It wouldn't bother me at all. I mean, if you take 15 to 20 minutes of the 732 hours of wrestling that you're going to have over the 4-day WrestleMania experience, it doesn't bother me at all, especially if it's at the compound and we get to see Husky Harris come out of the Lake of Reincarnation. It'll be worth it just for that alone. But to see all the old tropes, or whatever they're called, all the old characters, the Vanguard Ones, the Senior Benjamin, King Maxwell taking people to Suplex City, all that kind of stuff, I think that would be well worth it to see, even if it is on screen. And if I was at WrestleMania and I got to see the compound on screen, I would mark out, so it wouldn't bother me at all. Besides, like I said, we're getting 1 million hours of wrestling anyways.
So the tickets are really expensive. That's just kind of how it goes, unfortunately. But I think that doing that would give you a little bit of a break. Plus, suppose you have nosebleeds, the wrestlers are going to look like ants in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome anyway. So I almost think that having maybe 15, 20, 25 minutes on the screen would actually be beneficial in some ways, and you're not like locked into your seat during that time either. So I think if you put it on in the middle of the car, like you said, it's 6 or 7 freaking hours. I actually think that would be, I would not be upset about it. Plus, you're still getting your major moments and main events and everything that I think it would be a fun addition that makes it different than anything else that you're going to see. So I would not be opposed to that.
Could I just point one thing out? You said people take a break there. If anyone takes a break during a Woken Matt Hardy segment, they deserve to be deleted.
Well, I'm just saying you can stand up and maybe stretch out the legs or go walk around a little bit and still pay attention to what's going on and not be locked into your seat. But they would
be on the wrong side of the Great War.
Well, there you have it. Another big news in this week: Johnny Gargano. He loses a match. He is no longer allowed in NXT. I think that we're going to see him tomorrow night. I think we see him tomorrow night or maybe on SmackDown this week, but I think that his future now lies on the main roster, and it's his time, man. Hopefully it's not just a 205 Live thing. I hope they do more with him than that. So you think that this is part of something that goes on tomorrow?
Everyone's been determined for the tournament, for the Cruiserweight title tournament, right?
Yeah.
So there's a good chance that maybe he won't be locked in the 205 because they brought in a lot of new names for to 205 Live, like people from NXT, people from the UK, just for this tournament. And I would definitely hope that he's not just locked into 205 Live. He's one of the best baby faces that the company has had in quite some time, and I think he can definitely get a good main roster following. So to see him on either Raw or SmackDown would be ideal in my eyes.
I know he's done with NXT, but I think he has one match left in him because it just makes sense for TakeOver New Orleans WrestleMania weekend for him to have a match with his former tag team partner Tommaso Ciampa. But I do think he's on the main roster. I don't think it's 205 Live because the tournament's been filled out and he's not on it, obviously, and neither is Ricochet. So I think they're pretty much set with who they're going to have on 205 Live. But I could be wrong. But I don't think he's going to show up tomorrow though. But I do think he's going to show up on Raw or SmackDown in the coming weeks at some point. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ciampa shows up too unexpectedly just to beat him up a little bit,
just to cane him in the back with his crutch.
That was actually where I was going. I was going to fantasy book that we're going to see Gargano on the main roster, and Ciampa's going to follow him there, beat him up after a quick debut, or maybe even right after you get that huge pop from Gargano, and then we get hope. I would love to see those two at Mania, and I know that's kind of really outside the box to see an NXT match on WrestleMania, but I actually would love to see them both do it on the main stage and not at NXT TakeOver.
I think that'd be really cool, but just I don't think it's going to happen. Just knowing they're
sure,
and it makes sense for them to have it at NXT, for them to find a way. Ciampa says, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to let you come back for this one match, just so I can embarrass you, and then
right, and especially
obviously
because
have Gargano win and leave victorious." In my opinion, but it won't happen.
And he interfered in the match, so Regal could easily say that we're going to give you one last match, and that would be the case. So, and then we'll probably get him on that Raw after WrestleMania or the SmackDown after WrestleMania and the huge weekend in New Orleans coming up. Talked about 205 Live and Ricochet and Johnny Gargano hopefully getting a little bit more than putting on those shows. But my tweet of the week is actually Wade Keller retweeted a Michael McGivern tweet. And 205 Live, it says, 205 Live reminds me when a bad sports franchise shakes up the front office, cuts some dead weight, and rebuilds around young stars. They're not ready to compete for a championship yet, but you can see the flashes. I think that really sums up where 205 Live is at right now. I think their ceiling is in question with what they can do, just because they haven't been put in a great spot. But you have seen the flashes, and so I do agree with this tweet that maybe good things are around the corner.
That is a great tweet. That's watching 205 Live since pretty much Drake Maverick, Rockstar Spud has become the on-screen authority. That's 205 Live is in the rebuilding stage right now, and you can see where it's going. Buddy Murphy, who was a former NXT champion, had a match this past week on 205 Live in the Cruiserweight Championship tournament, and it was unreal. Oh, man, his match was great, and his finisher is insane. I don't know what they call it. You guys have to look it up. It's kind of like a swinging, spinning Death Valley driver. But he starts it off in a pump handle. It was great, and it was a really good match. And the sky's the limit right now for 205 Live. I haven't been interested in 205 Live pretty much since inception, since shortly after its inception, maybe around the time that Rich Swann dropped the title was when I kind of started losing interest in the show and not really watching it week to week. But I'm intrigued with where they're going to go with it, and I want to tune in every Tuesday night after SmackDown.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with 205 Live, but they're certainly trending upwards in the right direction, adding more talent and making it more about the in-ring product and not silly characters. And I'm not saying that's it's not a very WWE way about going about things, but in terms of you have to make these guys the best in-ring wrestlers, and they're in a tough spot because some of the things that they do we still see in the main event from a Finn Balor, a Seth Rollins, but we'll do more on 205 Live as we get closer to Mania. I do want to talk about the WWE Network though. Once again, 4 years old, something that we love and is very important to us, but we still have our ways of improving, I think, in certain ways. I want to ask you guys something that you love about the network. Let's get some positivity out there first, but something that you guys
love. POP?
Some POP.
The collections for me is probably my favorite thing. I love it. They'll highlight a superstar or a rivalry or even an event such as a certain pay-per-view, and they'll have it chronologically listed, and you can just hit play and go through it and kind of just turn your brain off, have it on in the background, pay attention to it, whatever. That's definitely my favorite thing about the network. That and all of the documentaries that they have.
I have my complaints about the network, but all in all, I like it. I like / love a lot more of it than I don't. And collections are up there, documentary style shows in the Beyond the Ring section. I mean, there's a lot to love about it. The fact that, and it's weird to think about now because I'm so used to having the network, but back in the day, I used to have to read the results of pay-per-views. I didn't get to see pay-per-views unless I got my money together, or I went to Hooters or Damon's or someplace like that, or got money together with friends to get a pay-per-view. Which, as a teenager, that wasn't always the case, you know. So that's probably my favorite thing about it, is that we get to get pay-per-views that other people had to pay, or sometimes still do have to pay $40 to $60 a month for. We get them for $9.99 a month, on top of anything you could possibly want WWE history wise. I mean, any pay-per-view that you want to see, you can go find it. Pretty much any Raw or SmackDown in WWE history, you can go find it. There's so much to love about it, and I'm glad that we're talking about that before we get into some of the things that we would possibly change or whatever we're going to talk about. But it's the best thing that WWE has done. Not wrestling-wise, of course. It's one of the best decisions they've ever made. They got ahead of the curve as far as the streaming services go. Now everyone's doing it. And touche to them and props to them, because going to watch collections and documentaries and all that stuff is some of my favorite time-killing things to do.
Yes, we're all very lucky to have the network, and for a wrestling fan, it has made our lives so much easier. And you don't have to be a current wrestling fan. You can be someone who grew up with the product and still find so much to love about what they have on there. The library is just insanely large. Almost every episode of Monday Night Raw, and if you're an ECW fan, or maybe you love WCW in the Nitro era, or maybe you're an old school NWA, or maybe you're a Smoky Mountain fan, whatever it might be, so much of this stuff is on there. And so anything negative that we have to say should be taken with a grain of salt, because we're looking for ways to improve it. We love it. It is very important. I couldn't even tell you how much time I put into it on a weekly basis. It's pretty ridiculous. But we're just talking about things that we can do to improve it and things that we love. Collections are awesome. I love the Kurt Angle and Daniel Bryan are two of my favorites, just because it kind of goes through their career. And I love going to see wrestlers that I love and seeing them develop over time and different things that they were involved in. And so those are one of my favorite things. The documentaries are awesome. Please just keep loading us up with those. And I'd love to see more interview documentary style shows. Those are some of the things I'd like to see more of. And I think they're really sitting on top of a gold mine of stuff that we haven't even seen yet. You remember, every year or two you'd get a different Undertaker VHS about how, that year of rivalries or whatever, and you'd get in-character interviews and stuff like that. And that goes for Mankind and The Rock, all these different things. I'd love to see those singular DVD or DVDs and VHSs added up there. Maybe you throw them into a collection. I'm not sure exactly. There's plenty of ways to do it, but those are things I'd love to see. One thing that disappointed me was they had the best of 2016. This is the first time that they did that. They did that at the beginning of 2017. They put the best matches of 2016 on there. Then this year, they replaced 2016 with 2017. Why would you not just add? To me, they should go through almost every year, especially of the last 15, 20 years, and even beyond that. You can even do it for WCW or ECW too. Or NWA. Give me the best matches. And they used to come out with these, and I was talking to you guys about that this week. They had, in 1999, you would get the VHS of the best matches of 1999. You had Stone Cold and McMahon from the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, where the Big Show, Paul White at the time, came out through the ring, or Road Dogg and X-Pac versus Billy Gunn in China for the rights to DX at Fully Loaded, I believe, or The Rock and Mankind in the I Quit match from Royal Rumble, Shane McMahon versus Test for the Love Her or Leave Her street fight match with the
What wrestlers were in that match?
Test was the wrestler in the match. This is the business.
So
guy.
he wrestled himself. He just ran around. He did run the ropes or something.
It was a street fight, not a wrestling match. Yeah. So, but I'm just saying
So
these
it was
are
unshanked, and so it's not considered a match.
Yeah, that's right. These are things that I want to see added to the network. To me, you don't replace 2016. You add another one. Why wouldn't I want to go back and see all the stuff from 2016? Again, to me, you add matches or you add collections for years, and even go to some of the different brands and do it that way. I think that's a gold mine as opposed to finding, okay, this pay-per-view at 1 hour and 37 minutes in. I make it easy for me. I think that's part of it. I really don't think that's that hard to put up either. I can't speak from experience, but to me, they're missing the boat on getting more of those type of collections of the best of a year and going back and kind of back cataloging that. Is there other collections that you guys want to see added that you thought of would be up your alley?
I thought of a couple. I think that Shawn Michaels, he does have a collection, but his collection is just his WrestleMania matches. I want to see a Shawn Michaels collection of all of his great matches because, yes, he's Mr. WrestleMania, and he's had classic matches at WrestleMania, but he's had classic matches other places too. He had a match with Kurt Angle at Vengeance that was probably just as good as their WrestleMania match. He's had, the first Elimination Chamber match, Mind Games with Mankind in 96, I believe, Rumble with Taker in 98 where he hurt his back, even though that's the match he hurt his back. That was an incredible match too. I think eventually we'll get that in time. But then two other ones that I'm surprised that they don't have. Well, more so one than the other. I would like to see a Ministry of Darkness one, but I understand why they wouldn't have that because of all the religious connotations and things like that could be construed as negative. But one that I'm shocked they don't have, unless I didn't look properly, was the NWO. They don't have a collection yet, and that's really bizarre to me.
I would definitely love to see an NWO collection. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it could happen because they're going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, but the Dudley Boys don't have a collection, do they?
I thought they did,
okay.
but
I think that they have one that kind of puts them, the Hardy Boys and the Edge and Christian. I could be wrong, but I think it kind of includes all three and their rivalries kind of combined. So it might be the Dudley Boys versus the Hardy Boys at Royal Rumble 2000. Then it might be
I'll find out
the Hardys and Edge and Christian from their original ladder match near the end of '99, or then the Triangle ladder match. So I think they have a collection that actually includes. It's like a TLC collection, and I think it has a combination, but it is not a specifically Dudley's thing. But to your point, go do the Dudley's thing, but bring in the original ECW. Give me the full story. You have access to all these things. Make it one full story. And then to Andre's point about getting some more Shawn Michaels in there and kind of combining with what I'm saying, you know what I'd like to do? Similar to what Bruce Pritchard and Conrad do. Give me The Undertaker 1998 or Stone Cold, The Rock's 99. Give me the year of that person with the rivalries, their segments. Give me that as a collection and their best ofs, collection within a collection, I guess, of that superstar in a year. So CM Punk in 2011 or something like that. Like, how cool would some of these things be? I mean, there's like you have your superstars at different eras that you could go and give me that year.
I would love to see a collection of the best of SmackDown, the original SmackDown with the Ovaltron.
Yes.
That just have a best of that era of SmackDown, because that's some of the best wrestling in the Attitude Era. They were killing it on that show back then.
I would love to see that too. You have the Rock and Sock Connection in a Buried Alive match against Undertaker and Mankind. This is one of the first 10, 15 episodes of the original SmackDown. And during that match, Stone Cold had come back and he's fighting Triple H in the back, and they're going in an ambulance and in the back, and then you still have Mankind being thrown off the stage into the grave. There is so much good stuff that I'd like to see. You can, like I said, you could break it down by year and not even do a full. This is overall the best of and this and that. You can
just have a collection of.
Yeah, exactly. I think collections, they should do more than these. We typically get 2 or 3 a month, but I'd love to see that expanded exponentially.
I like what you said about the SmackDown, because they have the top 100 moments of Raw. I have a DVD, the top 100 moments of SmackDown, and that DVD is like maybe 10 to 20 years old, maybe 15 years old, and it's a great DVD. There's a lot of classic
Still
stuff,
holds
so I'd
up.
love to see. But I just went on, and this is another positive about the network. As you guys are talking, I'm going to see if it really is a Dudley network, and I'm pulling up the network on my phone, and that just another great thing to have. But there is not a Dudley collection. But I do think that's something that's going to happen real soon, especially them being in.
Without a doubt, I think April. I would say April will be a Dudley's collection, right? No, and they're the ones that are on there are so awesome. Like I said, I really like when they kind of span the career. It'd be hard to do the Undertaker as a whole, right? Or Shawn Michaels as a whole. I like the idea of breaking it up, maybe in a few year chunks when like the first championship and on, or whatever.
Especially with the Undertaker, breaking it up because he had so many different iterations of the Undertaker throughout his career.
Point.
It would be perfect to do it for someone like that. Even Jericho he's had a bunch of different ones. If you really wanted to, I mean, you'd probably have to have one collection per match, but you could do the Big Show because he turned so many times.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a good point. Undertaker's a great point there because you could have the original zombie, then kind of the Ministry of Darkness, Satanic Worshiper, then you got American Badass, then you have back to the Undertaker that we've known from the last 12, 13-ish years. I think that'd be totally the way to break that up. I would love that. But Andre, also the accessibility, like you said, is a great thing, man. I mean, Apple TV, our phones, laptops, whatever it might be, it's everywhere. It's easy to get. Some of the formatting, especially on the video game systems on Xbox One, 360, PS3, and 4, are not great. I really love the way I can look at it on Apple TV is really great. And my phone, for the most part, is okay, especially just because it's always there. It's always in your pocket. Between classes, I can check it out.
I love the
lunch
phone.
break, whatever. It's great to just have it there at all the times. But the formatting of the online video game versions are not great.
That's probably my biggest complaint is the layout on the phone. Maybe the reason I like the phone so much, I just use my phone on my PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's it. Is because the PlayStation is so. The way that they lay out their pay-per-views, I don't like because it's just alphabetical order on the pay-per-view, and that's it. So anytime you want to see a WrestleMania match, click, 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 click. Where on the phone, you can do it you can choose it. You can do it to do alphabetical, you can do it by chronological, and sometimes having that chronological where you can see the pay-per-views in order, that's incredible.
I'd so much rather have that than, okay, I go to Royal Rumble 2000. Okay, then it goes to Royal Rumble 2001, 2002, and keeps going on. I'd much rather see, after Royal Rumble 2000, they went to No Way Out. Then they did WrestleMania. And even better, and just give me it all in order how it happened. If I put on Royal Rumble 2000, I want to see the Monday Night Raw after that and continue. And
that would be really cool if there's a way to do that. To me, that's the
best way to do it. And I know that it'd be insane to think that they're going to do just, every little thing a superstar did if you search them and just rifle through. I would like to see that. But to me, it makes the most sense and it wouldn't be that hard if I'm watching all the Monday Night Raws, add in the pay-per-view in between there. I know eventually we'll get Sunday Night Heat
on the
and
NXT,
stuff like that.
The NXT list thing or the NXT
because
menu.
they did that the right way. Yes, exactly. The NXT ones you rifle through. The pay-per-views, the takeovers, the pre-shows are all included on that.
And it's in order.
So I want to see, when I go to Monday Night Raw and they're building up for Over the Edge 1998, include that pay-per-view and then give me the next night and continue from there. I would love to see those kind of embedded in there. And that's something I could do on my own if they also allowed us to make playlists as opposed to watch lists. I would like to be able to make my own separate playlist, not just one watch list that goes on in a row, just kind of random.
Yeah.
I want to be able to put my own little collections together, right? Like I want
that would be super cool.
I think that I feel like you can do that on other streaming services. I think Netflix maybe has something similar to that. Maybe you put it on a playlist. They might only have one, but to me, I think you should be able to have a couple of these and kind of create your own collections a little bit, right? And it's not like cut and paste. It should be more, okay, I'm going to take this full show, and as opposed to
kind of like what you can do with YouTube if you make a playlist on YouTube. That's something I thoroughly enjoyed as my playlist, because then I can just click on it and I know I'm going to get a certain kind of video after another. If I want to shuffle it, I can. If I want to keep it in the order I put it in, I can. If I want to change that order, I can. If I want to delete and add, I can. I think that would be really cool, because I kind of do that on my own, where I tried to watch from like 99 on, and I'm coming to find out that Attitude Era is a little bit overrated, but we can talk about that another day, because there's